Funding for Shaperless is provided by
Surfshark VPN. Tune until the end to find out about their amazing service. Hey gang, it's Persona O'Clock again. I held a poll asking which game I should follow up my Persona 4 Social Link ranking with, and 5 narrowly won out. Overall, this is my favorite game in the series, mainly for its gameplay, with 4 having my favorite characters, and 3 having my favorite story. Yes, I'm literally the damn meme. I didn't even know these opinions were so common they became a meme. I thought I was the only one who had them before I actually looked into the fandom. But anyway though, despite the general gameplay and wealth of things to do being the best part about 5 for me, I was honestly surprised at how consistently solid the Confidants were in this game. Persona 5 can kinda fall into a trap where each social link plays out extremely similarly. Some asshole is causing trouble for your friends, and then eventually you take their shadow down in mementos and change their heart. Then the friend is really grateful and says, hey, you're the Phantom Thieves. It can get a little bit repetitive the 10th time you see it, but taken on their own, these stories mainly shine pretty well individually by putting their own spin on this familiar formula. Some of them even subvert it in interesting ways, and some, like your party members, don't have mementos requests at all, so it helps to keep things a little bit varied. Overall, despite a few duds we'll talk about, I think this game has a pretty strong selection of social links. So let's get into them. Just as a disclaimer, once again I am ranking the quality of the stories themselves, completely putting aside my feelings on the characters within them. For this game in particular, I'm also not going to be considering the special abilities you get from each link, because those are more about gameplay, and it would be unfair to consider them when I combine my ranking of all 3 games later on. Oh yeah, and I'm not going to be holding the fact that you can willingly be groomed by adult women against any of these links, since you control the buttons you press after all. I think it's weird personally, but if it's optional, I'm just gonna choose to not have Joker date the adult characters, and thus not consider that a negative factor for any of those links. There's a lot of good stuff in the rest of those storylines, except for Oya's, that I don't want to get overshadowed by the discourse. Okay, that's everything for real. Let's kick things off with some juicy garbage. Oh yeah, and this probably goes without saying, but spoilers for everything. I will spoil every major thing about this game. Please do not watch this if you do not want to be spoiled. Okay, thank you.
Disappointment in the game of life!
I'm pretty sure Sai Nijima is the non-player character that appears in the most social links, since every time you start a new one in Persona 5, she's gotta chime in and ask how you possibly could have gotten so good at a certain skill. Often, her theories are pretty off base. Plus, this happens so often that it gets really annoying. Honestly, I think she probably just inserts herself into other social links to make up for the fact that her own link is nothing. It's shit. She interrogates you as a framing device for most of the story, and then halfway through that, she finally starts to trust you a little bit, and the automatic social link starts. This does make for a cool moment where the game finally tells you she's not going to remain an antagonist to you forever. But at the same time, every rank up episode is basically just plot focused, without delving much at all into why she's starting to like you and trust you more. You get that a little bit towards the end of each rank up, but mainly it's plot time. Rank 6 is my favorite because it's where she really comes to terms with how in the dark she was this whole time. It feels motivated by character equally as much as plot. But rewatching this link, I was curious what the following ranks were, since even though I've played this entire game 4 times, I always forget the details of this social link in particular. Okay, seems like rank 7 is the iconic scene where you choose not to sell out your friends and also give her the phone. You know, as an aside, my friends and I always found it extremely hilarious what ridiculous lengths the game goes to not name Goro Akechi as the traitor up front. I'm talking about the true culprit here. You know, the traitor. You're referring to him, aren't you? Like, we heard his damn voice. You can say his name, we all know. Why does this game go out of its way to spoil the Phantom Thieves' targets before they happen, but then suddenly it says, ooh woo, we can't give away that Akechi is the bad guy, oh no! Seriously, you're referring to him, aren't you, has become a meme in my friend group. It really is one of the dumbest and corniest things in this game, and that's saying something. Yeah, the scene is cool and all, but it's really going on for a while. It's weird that this is only the rank 7. What? The social link is over? What happened to 7, 8, 9? They could wouldn't even commit to a full damn social link for this lady? Like, we see her after the interrogation. We could have done more ranks later on. I was gonna rank it a little higher since it seemed to be doing the best it could for an automatic social link. But f that, man. This is awful. This is not the peak of your relationship and level of trust with Sai Nijima. Why does the social link not continue through to the part where she learns about the entirety of your plan and vows to work with you? Just the worst. With that said, I'm okay that they cut the option to date her, solely because can you imagine how awkward that would be for Makoto? Imagine being a teenage girl who's kinda into this guy your age, and then finding out that he's dating your adult sister after they met during a police interrogation. That's like almost dating Kawakami levels of sketchy. And yet, if we're solely considering a quality of a social link perspective, it would probably be better than what we have now. Okay, I could rant about this one for a while, so let's move on to slightly greener, but still shitty pastures.
You're the trash of society.
Goro Akechi is my favorite Persona character. Yeah, you can click off the video now if you want. I get it. He's not perfect, not by a long shot. But oh man, am I enamored with this ruthless, fake nice, pancake-loving, homoerotic rival for so many reasons. And it is precisely because I love him so much that you know this ranking of just the social links is unbiased. Because he has, bar none, one of the worst ones in the entire series. You might be wondering why. It seems like a really cool and interesting one that would be right up my alley. Well, my response is, which version did you play? Goro Akechi is the only character in the series to have two social links. The more well-known regular one he has in Royal, and the automatic social link he was given in Vanilla Persona 5. And I cannot express enough just how much I hate the latter. The only reason I ranked it higher than Sai's is because it actually has 10 ranks and not 7. Like, it meets the bare minimum requirements for a social link. It's still absolutely abysmal. There is not a single automatic social link in the series that feels more forced than this one. Akechi will just obtrusively show up where you don't want him, deliver some dialogue that is slightly more character focused than Sai's link, but mostly just serves as a way to progress the story, and then the game just tells you that your bond is growing. Which is ridiculous, because no it's not! Joker never seems to want this guy around. He'll just intrude on stuff going on in your life, do something like criticize the Phantom Thieves and imply that he's onto you guys, or just randomly trauma dump on you with no natural lead into it. And I guess that means you're bonding! And this is just the first half of the link. It gets worse. Rank 5 is where he finally reveals he knows you're the Phantom Thieves, blackmails you into doing his bidding, and forces his way onto your team. But he complimented you at the very end. Aww, he really does care. We're bonding! At least in rank 6 and 7, he has a reason to be around since he's part of the team. Like, those I can kinda see working. But then we get to maybe the dumbest scene in all of Vanilla Persona 5. I'm really not joking when I say that. Surprise! Akechi has come to assassinate you in prison. Wow, I feel like I understand him better now. We're bonding! I actually said, what? Out loud at my screen when I first played this game. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and it completely destroys the dark tone here. And the cherry on top of all of this is the fact that that's not even Joker. This is the cognitive version of Joker who experiences this rank up. The game acknowledges this, it's not like they just forgot, but that doesn't really save the idea of you, the main character, not being present for a social link rank up. The only time in the series this ever happens, mind you, from being the most ridiculous thing in any of these social links. Embarrassing. Deeply, profoundly embarrassing in a way words cannot possibly describe. Gonna be honest, I wasn't always the massive Goro Akechi stan I am today. Throughout the vast majority of my very first playthrough of this game, I hated his guts. He was such an annoying, prissy twerp who just wouldn't leave me alone no matter how much I didn't want him around. And I think if I had played Royal first, this would not have been the case. In Royal, you seek Akechi out and your bond with him feels genuine. In the OG game, Akechi is forced upon you. That's the key word here. Forced. This is the most forced social link in the entirety of Persona. Because not only does it not feel like Joker and Akechi are legitimately growing closer, but if you don't like him or find him unpleasant, the fact that the game is telling you you're bonding with him will just make you resent him way more. That's exactly what happened to me, and probably a lot of other players, considering the general consensus is that Akechi's character is significantly better in Royal. There's only one part of this social link that's actually worth a damn, and that's the rank 10 event. The first time in this entire game where I actually understood and came to not despise this character. The one where you can finally feel some pity for him despite the evil he's done, and lament the fact that you couldn't save him and allow him to achieve some sort of redemption. But guess what? This rank 10 event, along with 9 immediately before it, is carried over into his Royal social link. So the vanilla Akechi link doesn't even have that going for it. There is no favorable comparison to be made for vanilla Akechi next to Royal. This is the only time in the entire series where the creators just threw an entire social link in the trash and started over when making their updated re-release. All the scenes from the OG link are still in Royal, which is good. We didn't lose the Honey I'm Home scene, thank God. But the fact that the game isn't trying to pretend these scenes are furthering your bond with Akechi makes a world of difference. I really can't stand this link. I went into this thinking it would be the absolute worst in Persona 5, but I genuinely forgot that size ends after only 7 rank ups. At least OG Akechi clears the lowest of low bars. Also, you should check out Lady Virgilia's analysis of this social link, and specifically rank 8. It's a pretty interesting alternative explanation of why it is the way it is. Doesn't change my thoughts though, this one is ass.
It's almost like we have an imposter among us.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. Igor might be the most nothing link in the entire series. It doesn't quite piss me off as much as Sai and Vanilla Akechi, solely because there's just nothing to talk about. It feels like a story check-in similar to those C's and investigation team links in the previous game that I'm not ranking. Igor just says, "Wow, you did some cool shit. Your rehabilitation is progressing smoothly." And then just rinse and repeat that for 9 ranks. The only part that ever perked my interest up was rank 6, where Igor mentions he's looking forward to you meeting the man with power similar to yours. Which is pretty neat foreshadowing for the fact that Yaldabaoth bestowed power to both you and Akechi. This is all a game to him. So of course he's looking forward to seeing how the players quarrel with each other. Other than that, this is pretty unsubstantial until we get to rank 10. My favorite because something actually happens. It takes place on Christmas Eve after you've restored Lavenza and figured out this guy is an imposter. Unlike Akechi's rank 8, I don't think putting a rank up here destroys the tone of the scene. If anything, it suits Yaldabaoth's twisted nature that you can only achieve the maximum rank of his arcana after you learn his true identity as the god of control. I don't know, it just feels a lot less out of place than Akechi's rank 8 did. And as a scene, it's one of the game's best considering how unexpected and intensive it is. And how it's your chance to deny Yaldabaoth one of the game's bad endings. Other than that, I think this is the barest social link in all of Persona. One that just feels like an obligation more than anything else. God, I hope we're done with these automatic social links after this one.
Let's execute him!
Caroline and Justine's social link is basically, what if Margaret's link was slightly less boring? Emphasis on slightly. You're still just fusing personas in order to progress it, which is a little lame, but at least it fits this setting and these characters better, since it's considered your penal labor. It just makes more sense for a social link involving your prison wardens to not really go anywhere. That doesn't make it any less boring though. I will admit, I am a little mixed on the addition Royal made where you could take Caroline and Justine out to places in the real world. First of all, can we please not call them dates? I don't know why some people do that. Just no, we are babysitting. Second, as fun as these are, and as probably better they would have been as a social link, I feel like it does kind of break the immersion of you being a prisoner within the Velvet Room. I can't take that seriously if my prison guards are just goofy goobers who I can do fun things with in the real world. I don't know, I feel like it goes a little bit against the intent of the original Persona 5. Just like how a lot of people say the fun new events added to 4 Golden go against the narrative decision of having Inaba be shitty and boring. I certainly like the new events with the twins better than their actual social link in a vacuum. I just don't think it's really appropriate given the role these characters were supposed to play in the Velvet Room. Does that make sense? Wow, I just realized I haven't even gotten to the main content of the link itself, probably because there's not much to say. It just boils down to persona fusion. But what sets it above Margaret's link is the fact that there's actually a story. Essentially, the twins are unsure who left this list of persona fusions for you to complete. And this is all ultimately foreshadowing for the existence of Lavenza, and the fact that the two of them are two halves of one person. That's all well and good, but they really stretch this one idea out across 10 ranks. And it obviously doesn't even have a resolution at the end, considering we can't find out the full truth until it's almost Christmas. As a result, this is a nifty little bit of foreshadowing, but it also kind of feels like a waste of time. I do get a bit of an oh shit moment in the rank 8 event where fake Igor has to jump in and ask if something's the matter. But other than that, this is a very samey link that I'm not a huge fan of. Dare I say, I guess you could call this one, oh boy, here it comes. Not terrible, but not impressive. Yeah, it's not really good. Moving on.
This is the story that'll make you a real reporter.
It's Oya! Everyone's favorite social link. Everybody loves her. Boy, oh boy, I sure do hear nothing but good things about Oya. Alright, for real, who let Atlas cook with this character? She's an obnoxious alcoholic with a terrible haircut who dresses like a 12-year-old boy. They paired the least helpful social link ability with her just to really drive home the point that you should avoid her at all costs. But behind how unpleasant of a character she is her social link story any good? On paper you would think so. There's definitely something here with this backstory about her and her partner chasing this government conspiracy. Before her partner got framed for murder and went missing, and now Oya's gotta find her. This sounds crazy interesting. Too bad all of it is told to us and not shown. The backstory I get, we need to be caught up on it. But here in the present, Oya is basically conducting this entire investigation by herself off screen. And then she just tells you about it at this damn bar. Oh my god, I am so sick of seeing this bar. We never leave it. Okay, that's not totally fair. In rank 4, we venture outside to the front door of the bar. And in rank 7, we get to see the bar from a different camera angle. Ooh! Add in the obligatory, you need to pretend to be my boyfriend scene, which is such a great trope for an adult and a minor to partake in. And you get a social link that manages to be so boring while fumbling such a potentially awesome story. That really could have made this character a whole lot more popular. The rank 9 event is my favorite since it's pretty intriguing to hear that Oya finally found her partner in a mental hospital after she seemingly had a mental shutdown. And that she has evidence that ties this whole crazy conspiracy to Shido. That's pretty neat. You know what would have been neater? If we actually got to see it! Let us go to the mental hospital with Oya. Let us meet this damn character who means so much to Oya but only exists off screen for us. This whole social link just feels like a waste of time, even though it is nice to spend time with Lala, and it's fun when Oya calls her a phantom menace. It's also good to raise your charm stat, which, can I just ask how you gain charm points by spending time with the woman who is, practically by the game's own admission, completely charmless? Maybe she just makes you look more charming by comparison. Okay, that I can buy. Pretty rough social link. The only one that I need the third semester to finish, besides Sumire's obviously, because I just cannot be bothered to prioritize this lady over literally any of the other links. Both from a gameplay and story perspective, she's just useless. Speaking of,
Especially useless!
Eiko's social link is fine, I suppose, but not really one of my favorites. We learn a lot about her background and how her parents neglect her in favor of her multi-talented brother. And there's an alright plotline about her dating this skeevy guy you have to convince her to reject, but she's not a particularly enjoyable character to be around. Just a pretty shallow and stupid one overall. Also, Makoto shows up a lot in this one to help you with Eiko's struggles, so that's pretty nice too, I guess. Yeah, if you haven't caught on by now, Makoto's social link is a complete joke. It becomes completely focused on this other girl, Eiko, and dealing with her problems. An already bizarre choice made even worse by the fact that Eiko doesn't even have a damn portrait. This major character in this link is essentially faceless. And don't even tell me it was too much work to make one, because they did it for Ann's modeling rival, who gets way less screen time in that link. The lack of a portrait really goes a long way from detaching you from Eiko and the idea that you should care about her. It's like, if the game didn't think it was important enough to show me her fucking face, then I guess she really isn't important, huh? And yet, helping this pretty vapid and unlikable girl is Makoto's entire goal for this link. It overshadows the brief rank-ups that are about her personal life and how much she misses her late father. Those are pretty good, but they're sandwiched between this asinine storyline that I don't give a shit about. This is not why I decided to hang out with Makoto. It does make sense for the student council president to have a social link storyline where she helps a student, but it might have been better to help multiple different ones, whose problems could tie into Makoto's own life and get her to open up to you about aspects of her personality. It's insane that we instead get wrapped up in this one girl's personal drama. And it's not even a childhood friend like Futaba has, just someone she met a week ago and started talking to on a whim. They also really shove the idea that this is the canon ship down your throats throughout this whole thing. Like, oh boy, we have to pretend to be Makoto's boyfriend. Something we don't have to do for any of the other female party members. I sure hope this doesn't lead to us actually falling in love. Hoo boy. Yeah, this link isn't a fan favorite. Everyone pretty much has the same issues with it, even if they love Makoto as a character. It has its moments. I like when Lala gets invested in your relationship drama, or of course, the beep boop singularity. And my favorite rank overall is rank 1. It peaks at the beginning because it's cute when you can bring her to the arcade. Other than that, never cook again Makoto's social link. This is why I officially changed my allegiance to Haru Nation. I'm over you, Miss President. Nah, but really, she's still pretty cool though. I don't really know why everyone hates her now.
I can read your future.
Chihaya has a lot of nerve charging me 100,000 yen to start one of the most mid social links of all time. She's damn lucky her Confidant abilities are so useful, because otherwise, I don't think I would bother with this one. It's just so bleh. Not really bad or anything, but maybe the most consistently forgettable one in all of Persona 5. 4 entire playthroughs of this game, and I still frequently forget what happens in this one. Chihaya at least has a decently interesting backstory, which is really similar to Bruno's from Encanto, in fact. And I really like when she randomly slips into her country accent. Rank 9 is probably my favorite in the link, solely because that's where that first happens. But yeah, other than that, this is about as plain as social links get. Which is insane because there's apparently a cult that brainwashes people that Chihaya has unwittingly been funding, and that's just barely given a passing mention and then brushed aside. Hello? More on that, please! This one is also a victim of a recurring trend with Persona 5 social links, where for whatever reason, Joker doesn't think to change someone's heart in order to solve a conflict until way later than he should. Like, after you meet Chihaya's boss, you should immediately know this guy is bad news and needs his heart changed. But the game doesn't let you do that for another 2 ranks. Whatever, I guess. I don't really care that much because I don't really care about this character. She's fine. Maybe the most aggressively fine social link in the series. I probably put more thought into her right now than I did throughout the rest of my life combined.
No. You are not a gamer!
Shinya Oda is, I don't know, okay? I'm never really all that excited to play through his Link, but it's kind of a delight to spend time with him just to bear witness to his epic Get Smoked hat. Like, that's the coolest thing of all time. It's also funny how the Sai Nijima lead into this link is her assuming you had intense professional gun training, whereas in actuality you were just gaming with this elementary schooler. Yeah, I don't know, there's a little bit of a story about Shinya having beef with this other guy who's better at the game than him. There's also these kids who get into some money-related kerfuffles with him. Then it mostly just becomes about him dealing with his mom's obsessive tendencies and being embarrassed by her. Rank 7, where you actually meet her, and he bashfully asks if you can get the Phantom Thieves to change her heart, is probably my favorite. It feels a little more intense and climactic compared to the other ones. In a lot of ways, the conflict between a young boy and his mother is better presented here than in the Shu link from Persona 4. But that link had much higher highs in my opinion, like the birthday party scene. So ultimately, they end up feeling pretty similar in terms of quality. Oh, and this is a bit of a nitpick since you don't hear the voice acting that often, but man does Shinya not sound like an actual kid. It's so obviously a woman doing a little boy voice, and it really takes me out of the scenes where you can hear his voice. moves.
Besides, it's thanks to you guys that I was able to get stronger.
I'm obviously not against that practice in general. It works for characters like Morgana, where it's pretty hard to tell it's an adult woman voicing him. But Shinya's voice just sticks out like a sore thumb. It also doesn't help that half the things he says in the voiced rank 10 events feel like mantras you would find in an after-school special. Like, kiddo, you don't need to say out loud what lessons you learned in this unnatural of a manner. Especially not in that voice. Whatever, pretty okay social link I suppose, but definitely not one of my favorites. At least you get cool gun moves and shit.
Ooh, we can do this!
I hate Morgana. Oh my god, can I not stand this insufferable, mean, self-righteous cat. He is my absolute least favorite party member in the entire series, and it isn't even close. So you know I'm not biased by my feelings on a character in terms of this social link ranking. Since I'm just gonna say Morgana's social link is pretty decent. I actually thought it was solid. And that's quite a feat, not only because, you know, Morgana, but because this is an automatic social link. How in the halibut did Morgana, of all characters, get my favorite automatic social link in the series? It's pretty simple, really. They not only focus on your bond with him, instead of shoving all the other party members into every link like they did with Teddy, but they focus on a singular idea throughout all of these ranks. That being his insecurity with whether or not he's truly human, and whether or not he belongs with the Phantom Thieves in the long run. It's pretty solid stuff, and it paints a sympathetic portrait of Morgana. Like, if it wasn't for how obnoxious he is outside of this link, these scenes would really do a great job of making me care about his insecurities, and make me want to assure him that he has a place within the Phantom Thieves. My favorite is rank 7, where he has the nightmare of monster Morgana, and starts to seriously doubt that he really is human, but he finds comfort in being a cat in the home he has now. I think what really makes this automatic social link work where so many others falter is because the scenes really do paint a portrait of you and Morgana bonding. It's not like Teddy, where they tack it onto random scenes of the whole group just goofing off. It's not like Sai, where it's about progressing the story first and foremost. It's not like Vanilla Akechi, where the idea that you're supposed to be bonding is enough to make me hate him more. I already despise Morgana, but even I gotta admit, these scenes do legitimately feel like natural steps in his and Joker's blossoming relationship. I would say I appreciate the rank 8 event as well, with the whole gang expressing their care for Morgana, but that comes right after the Okumura stuff, so yeah, I still got a bad taste in my mouth. Sorry. I think the Morgana fanbase should just be happy I ranked him this relatively not low, because this is the most I'm ever gonna compliment his character. Okay, that's not fair. There are other good things about him. I really like his design, as well as his voice. I quote, "Ooh, we can do this," on a regular basis. I think it could be fun to have him comment on various things you see out in the world. And, I like when he becomes a car. Yeah, decent social link. Not the most substantive and a little bit repetitive, but more or less the crowning example of how well an automatic social link can be done. Alright, that's enough. I am reverting to Morgana's #1 hater again. Never get mad at Ryuji again, you stupid simp cat. Let me go out at night, you dumb f***. I have DVDs to return. Are you gonna pay for the late fees, you little bitch? Yeah, I didn't think so.
Shut the fuck up, idiot!
One of my favorite things about Ryuji as a character is when he sends you a little text message that says, "Track is back." Like, that's just adorable, and it became a meme in my friend group. Like, that's so true. Track is back. Aside from that, Ryuji is obviously a great character, and his social link is solid, if a bit flawed. My favorite parts are seeing just how dedicated he is to getting the track team back to normal, and making amends with his former teammates, who hate him now for standing up to Kamoshida. It was also sad when he opened up to you about the abuse he received from his dad. Though, as a result, it kinda made me hate the scene where Ryuji allows his former trackmates to beat him up as a form of catharsis for them. Like, that's just horrible, and speaks to how little he thinks of himself. And I hate the fact that one of your dialogue options is, "You deserved it." Like, you might actually be evil if you pick that one, to be honest. But oh well. This whole scene was probably a way of showing how Ryuji doesn't really belong with these track guys anymore. And his true place in life is with the Phantom Thieves, who would absolutely never beat him up.
Falco Punch!
I'm feeling a bit hungry.
What is wrong with this game? I also think rank 7 is kind of a joke. Just having this comically evil mini Kamoshida guy exposit to another teacher right in front of a Shujin student his evil plans for the track team. Like, it just felt cartoonish and overblown. Which, to be fair, this isn't the only Persona 5 villain you could say that about. This scene might have felt more natural though if you were secretly eavesdropping on the teacher and recording them at school, rather than just going to a restaurant and sitting next to him where he happened to be talking about his nefarious goals for the track team. I don't know, this is a somewhat flawed link, but ultimately I think there's a good core with Ryuji standing up for his fellow trackmates and trying to rectify the mistake he made with Kamoshida all that time ago. My favorite rank is probably 4. Just a nice, simple conversation you two have where you bond over being outcasts, and he expresses how much he enjoys having a place with the Phantom Thieves. And they obviously value him as well. Seriously, f*** this game, I hate it sometimes. Alright, before I continue on, you guys, did you know that there are hackers who want to steal your private data? I know what you're thinking. Whoa, just like Persona 5, thieves and hacking and stealing, whoa! But please, this is serious. The good news is, you can help prevent this from happening with Surfshark VPN. With Surfshark, you can trick your browser into thinking you're in another country, thus allowing you to access exclusive Netflix or Disney Plus content you couldn't get otherwise. That way you don't have to physically travel to another country to see their exclusive shows. Plus, use its Surfshark alert system to get alerts anytime your email address or password is compromised. Surfshark Alert scans various databases of leaked information and notifies its users if their data is found so they can take action, which is an absolutely invaluable feature. Surfshark is also totally unlimited, meaning you can use it on as many devices as you like, even all at the same time. No other VPN allows this. Go to surfshark.deal/Rillis and enter promo code Rillis to get 83% off and 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN for free. It's an amazing deal, and it's even better because it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not satisfied, you can cancel during those 30 days and get your money back. If you're looking for a great VPN, there's no reason not to give Surfshark a try. Once again, head to surfshark.deal/Rillis and enter the promo code Rillis. Have a great time with Surfshark VPN. Futaba's social link is a pretty fun one, though it suffers a little bit from being split right down the middle in terms of its subject matter. The first half sees you help Futaba cross off items on a checklist she made with her mom that'll help her confront her anxieties. Honestly, a perfect plotline for the character to have. There are some wacky one-off vignettes and touching moments along the way. It's really strong stuff that both stands out for being fun and a great exploration of her character. Suddenly, however, in rank 6, we're told about a friend she had in elementary school, Kana, who endured all sorts of physical and sexual abuse from her parents. Most of the second half of the social link is dedicated to Futaba getting back in touch with her and changing her parents' hearts. And it definitely works narratively, even though we never get to meet Kana ourselves. The thing is though, I don't necessarily know if these two social link premises really fit together. It feels like the checklist misadventures were cut short in favor of a different overarching story. Yet simultaneously, that story barely feels like it gets off the ground, since if you consider it to be the main plot, then the first 5 ranks were kinda filler. I don't know, it doesn't really coalesce, and it feels like they should have been 2 separate social links. But how are you gonna do that when there's only one Foot? In spite of this flaw, however, both halves of the social link are really strong. I was very tempted to say rank 5, aka the Mishima "Are you an NPC" encounter, was my favorite. At the very least, it's one of the most memorable social link ranks in the entire game, and it never fails to crack me up. But I think rank 6, where Futaba opens up to you about Kana, is the best one. It's a powerful recollection of their friendship, which leads into Futaba's resolve to get back in touch with her. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, though, that the rank 8 event where you head pat her a little too hard is pretty adorable. Though, I also gotta say, I do not like her as a romance option. I don't know why that's a thing. She's so little sister coded. I just do not get why people do this. The rank 10 event is so much more wholesome if it's a bookend where she succeeds at being on her own in the store, instead of it having to conclude in her room. Oh well, like I said, I won't take my personal beef with optional romance routes into account too often. This is still a great social link. Could have been more focused, but overall pretty strong.
Go to the church and ask God to forgive you.
Hifumi Togo is a queen, okay? She's more of a queen than the actual party member named Queen. She's awesome. I love how into shogi she gets and how much she enjoys role-playing as the ruler of a shogi empire. That's cute. I like that a lot. Oh, and her social link story is pretty good as well. That's probably important to mention. It's an interesting story about a girl who just doesn't want to get thrust into the limelight, but her mother insists on it as a way of vicariously experiencing fame herself. It's really sad watching Hifumi struggle with everyone giving her attention as an idol, and not the serious shogi player she wants to be. And there's also something to be said about how messed up it is when a famous child is forced to become the primary breadwinner for their struggling family. Like, that shouldn't be a position any kid should have to grapple with. And you really come to sympathize with her circumstances. I don't know if I fully buy the idea that every single one of her matches was rigged in her favor and this somehow never leaked, nor did she hear anyone suspecting this online and start to suspect it herself. It just feels like she was blindsided by this knowledge, and like, I don't know, it's a bit of a stretch. Even so, this is a pretty good storyline with a lot of highlights. But my favorite has gotta be 9, where Hifumi finally faces off against an opponent in a non-rigged battle. And she just gets completely decimated. But she's happy she finally got to play a fair and square match. It's nice hearing her unexpected catharsis from this outcome, and it reflects her maturity and grace exceptionally well. Not a whole lot else to say. It's a fairly simple story, but it really works.
I'm a model.
On Social Link is a little bit, just a teensy tiny tad, very unfocused. But it's really endearing and sweet, and I love it anyway. Sue me. It kinda suits her occasionally scatterbrained mind, watching her try all sorts of random things to get stronger, even though they hardly ever work the way she wants. The one where she begs you to insult her in various ways to strengthen her resolve is pretty cute, especially when you spring I love you on her and she gets completely flustered. The same is true for her first ever gym visit with Ryuji. I love how she offers to take him on a date as a way of paying him back, and he just says F that. Like the thought of doing anything romantic with An doesn't excite him whatsoever anymore. I think that's pretty realistic, honestly, given how much time they've spent as friends at this point. Doesn't make it any less funny of a reaction, however. On top of that, we have An worrying about Shiho and wanting to get stronger for her sake, which makes a lot of sense for her Social Link storyline. But then, we've also got An's modeling rival, Mika, who uses underhanded tactics to try and get ahead of her opponents. And I like how frustrating the idea that An is just a natural beauty who doesn't need to diet or exercise is from Mika's perspective. Like, being on equal footing with someone who doesn't try nearly as hard as you must be annoying. But you can't blame An because, yeah, she's not being malicious. Modeling really is just a hobby to her that she doesn't think too much about. It's an interesting dynamic, especially seeing things from the perspective of the natural who doesn't need to try that hard. However, I think the problem is pretty evident here. This is a lot of stuff to cram into one Social Link, and it doesn't always flow the best. The Mika storyline takes over for a while, then rank 8 is the Ryuji gym adventure, which is tangentially related, sure, but then rank 9 is the big resolution with Shiho, and it feels out of place. They probably should have just done a full Shiho Social Link, instead of putting this pretty strong emotional resolution for her story arc in the middle of an unrelated An storyline. But to be fair, I think the thread of An hoping to become stronger does tie everything together overall. And they do a good job at connecting other elements of this link as well. Like early on when An talks about this cool, sexy villain she admired in an anime she watched as a kid. This comes back in the end when she equates Mika to that villain and vows to outdo her in a friendly rivalry sort of way. I like the conclusion the two of them come to here, and it's refreshing to have such an antagonistic character in this link who doesn't require a change of heart. It's a nice break from the typical Persona 5 Confidant formula. Overall, I think my favorite rank in this link is 7, not only because it offers a fun little modeling kerfuffle between An and Mika, but I like the resulting epiphany An has about the nature of strong modeling, and why Mika seems so much better than her. Plus, her commanding you to eat sweets in her stead is really cute. A pretty obviously flawed one in some ways, but it's just too endearing and enjoyable to deny.
Who am I?
Kasumi, or Sumire, or what should I call her? A student called Yoshizawa seems like a pretty normal and sweet addition to Royal at first. But then you see her Social Link is only 5 ranks, and her tarot card doesn't look anything like the other Social Link cards, and you can immediately tell something screwy's going on here. Not sure what yet, but I've got my eye on her. Anyway, these 5 ranks are just kinda loose little escapades that don't really seem to amount to anything on their own. It's like, Kasumi's bad at multiple things. She's in a slump. You wrap up that 5th rank and kind of think, okay, that was it? Yeah, I'm keeping my eye on her. As you should, because obviously in the third semester, it's revealed that the Kasumi we know is really just her less successful sister Sumire, who got brainwashed into thinking she was Kasumi. Alright, finally a story with some meat on its bones. On the surface at least, because looking back at those first 5 ranks, yeah, there was definitely some meat there. It was just hidden and covered with foreshadow sauce. I think this analogy is collapsing faster than Sumire's false reality. Basically what I'm trying to say is every seemingly innocuous conversation you had in the first half of the rank about how Kasumi doesn't feel like herself anymore and can't do the things she used to be good at, it was all nice little foreshadowing for this twist. Sumire explains everything the real her went through in terms of copying everything Kasumi did, and eventually realizing she could never catch up in her gymnastics skill. This all happens in rank 6, which is definitely my favorite. From there, Sumire vows to find her own identity and be her own person free of Kasumi's shadow, expressing this both through gymnastics and through fashion. It's a good storyline with a devastating yet ultimately optimistic character arc. However, a link can only be so good when it's cleanly cut in half like this. I wish there was more time to spend with the real Sumire, but you can't just give her all 10 ranks and leave the Kasumi persona with nothing. This was probably as well as they could have done it. But even so, I really wish they had introduced her gymnastics coach in the Kasumi part. She's talked about in that half, but considering how important she is to Sumire's arc, even having her own character portrait, it feels a little abrupt to only meet her in rank 7, and then just see her one more time at the end. Like, surely we could have met her in place of the link about how Kasumi is bad at cooking. Haven't we had enough links about how the female party members are bad at cooking in this series? Oh well, I really enjoy this one, even if it is a bit disjointed by design. It's a powerful and compelling story with a likable character at its center. And when she grabs that kid's balloon at the beginning, that's like the sickest thing ever. Doctor, give me the news. Takemi is so fucking hot. I mean, she's an extremely compelling, likable, and cool character to spend your time with. Oh my god, she's so hot though. Her social link storyline is pretty simple, but very well paced and consistent in terms of quality. She's intently focused on perfecting this one medicine, and it isn't revealed to you what exactly it is until towards the middle. But the fact that she's been testing it out on you during the beginning ranks means those scenes are very relevant to the overall story, while also feeling really laid back and just providing a chance for you to get to know her better. Hearing her backstory and how she got screwed over for her boss's mistake is compelling. And I like the contrast this paints between him, a famous doctor who treats his patients as if they're on an assembly line, and her, someone who has an actual passion for making people feel better through medicine. I like her simple backstory about just being a sickly child who got saved by medicine, resulting in an adult who wants to pay it forward and develop new medicine for sickly children everywhere. I also obviously don't like the adult romance routes, but looking into this one, I think it is pretty nice that she's one of the chillest romantic partners you get in the series. Pretty much every other one gets flustered when you confess, but with her, it really feels like you're the hopeless romantic hot mess, and she's far more calm, which suits her character very well. Like I said earlier, the route is kind of consistently good, which has the slight side effect of none of the individual scenes sticking out as being incredible. But with that said, I think my favorite is rank 8, where Takemi's patients all show up to tell her the news about her former boss absolving her of the crime, and that Miwa-chan did not die.
Aw, isn't that swell?
It's just a nice scene, and I like seeing this little community of patients Takemi has built, expressing their care for her. Really good link, especially when she's in that spiderweb dress. Okay, I'll check myself into horny jail now.
Everybody ought to have a maid. Everybody ought to have a...
Kawakami's social link has the weirdest setup and the weirdest payoff if you choose to date her. Everything else in it is fantastic though. I really enjoy how they take such an inherently bizarre and fetishy premise, like your teacher being your maid, Auga, and actually tell a compelling story about extreme burnout and guilt, spurred on by some truly irrational and hateable antagonists. Over and over, you can't stop thinking about how ridiculous it is that this couple could blame Kawakami for this kid's death. And they're not even his parents. Just some assholes exploiting his death in order to get money from an innocent lady for God knows how long. They might be like top 5 most punchable Persona 5 characters. Right up there with Kamoshida, Futaba's uncle, Haru's fiance, and I don't know, Morgana. Oh wait, no, never mind. That's 5 already. Forget I said anything. At first, I found it really weird that the rank 7 event doesn't conclude with Joker resolving to change their hearts. Like, it just seemed like the obvious place to do it, and I don't know the in-universe reason why he didn't think of it there. But from a narrative perspective, I like that they withheld it because it allowed Kawakami to come up with her own conclusion on how to deal with them. I love her realization that making amends with her late student will come not from paying off some dickholes, but from devoting herself fully to being a great teacher who's there for her current students. This is what makes the rank 8 events my favorite in the link. It's just great to see a Persona 5 confidant figure out a way to deal with their problem themselves. And even though Joker still has to step in afterwards with Phantom Thief shenanigans, I don't think that devalues the growth and forward thinking Kawakami experiences on her own. And that's not even getting into what a great depiction of stress and burnout from overworking this is. So many people out there work multiple jobs to make ends meet and end up completely exhausted with nothing left to put into their actual passion. I think Kawakami's storyline has the potential to relate to a lot of players. Overall, I really love this one. But I'm sorry, I know I said I wasn't gonna get into this, but man, is dating her the weirdest thing ever. Not just because, well, obviously, but the romance scenes are just extremely awkward, which makes sense, but it's to a point where I don't know if you as a player would really get anything out of this. Nothing about this relationship is normal, and Kawakami doesn't seem enthusiastic about it at all. Plus, it just feels off in the storyline about her deciding to dedicate herself to her students and their needs. That should probably involve shutting Joker's desire to date you down. And how are you gonna help your current students if this scandal gets out and you get fired? What a weird choice. But it is a choice, and I'm not gonna deduct points from this social link because of it. I mean, I'll admit, I'm a man, you're a woman, and that's the best part. Do go kinda hard. But yeah, I don't know. I would never date this lady because even putting aside the ethics, which is a pretty big ask, that's not what either of these characters really need out of each other narratively. The friendship rank 10, where she starts acting like a proper teacher and authority figure to you, is one of my favorite scenes in the link, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. Ugh, Mishima. I hate that guy. Just this consistently annoying little twerp who thinks he's so special for being tangentially connected to the Phantom Thieves. He keeps this whole woe is me shtick going as he tells you how everyone bullied him and considered him a loser growing up. But as soon as he gets a taste of power, he reveals the full depth of his unpleasant personality and makes you think, yeah, his bullies were probably justified. He nearly spends donation money on a fancy dinner and only backs out of it out of fear of getting in trouble. He constantly tries to get you to target people bothering him in his personal life, some of which haven't actually done anything wrong. And he implements fascism on the fan site he runs while talking like a JRPG villain the whole time. Like, buddy, we're in a JRPG. We're gonna have that dialogue later. You don't have to throw more on the pile. What a miserable little piece of shit. I can't believe the game wanted me to like him and... Oh, wait, no, the game is acknowledging that he's gone off the deep end and become wholly unlikable. Oh, the game is telling me to change his heart because he's become just as bad, if not worse, than some of the targets he finds for us. Well, don't mind if I do kick the shit out of this little snot. Oh, the game is giving him the opportunity to realize his mistake and change for the better instead of us forcing him to. That's, damn it, that's one of the most interesting solutions to any issue in this whole game. This confrontation in Mementos after rank 6 of the social link is easily my favorite part of it, because it allows us to get such a fascinating perspective on Mishima as a character. I kind of assumed he was a rotten, sniveling little grifter deep down, but he really just was a misguided kid who let an opportunity to rise above his social station go too far to his head. He wasn't being consciously malicious, and he's not some cartoon villain. He was just frustrated from being picked on and neglected all his life, making him believe this encounter with the Phantom Thieves is his karmic reward for putting up with all that bullying for years. In actuality, sometimes there are just peaks and valleys in your life, and things will naturally get better in time. Your calling and place in life will find you eventually. And for Mishima, it was getting a chance to legitimately help people through the fan site. He was temporarily blinded by this newfound power, sure, but he got back on the right track without needing his heart forcibly changed by the Phantom Thieves. Ironically, giving such a seemingly weak-willed character one of the strongest wills of all at the end of the day. But as if that wasn't a great enough idea for a storyline, we also get him using his wits to heroically save one of the bullies from even bigger bullies, one of whom is named Toru. OMG, Toru Adachi reference? This is probably a little corny to say, but I was honestly really proud of Mishima in this moment. I just didn't think he had it in him, but it shows what a long way he's come in terms of his bravery and dedication to helping people. I.e., what the Phantom Thieves are truly about at the end of the day. This was a really tough pill to swallow for me, considering how much I can't stand Mishima in most instances, and I assume the same is true for a ton of other fans. But if I'm being realistic, he has by far one of the most compelling social link storylines in Persona 5. One that legit surprised me with the direction it took, and wound up being a really fulfilling experience, considering how little respect I initially had for the character. With that said, Futaba calling him an NPC will never not be funny. Sorry.
Go have lunch because I'm not getting married.
Woo! It's best girl Haru.
The other one.
I just think she's nice and an extremely pleasant person to be around. Plus her social link presents an interesting conflict that's compelling to help her try and navigate through. I'm really glad they gave her something substantial and focused for a link, considering this is pretty much all she has in terms of focus. I know you've heard Haru no screen time a million times before, but considering how significantly shafted she gets in the main storyline, this social link has to do basically all of the heavy lifting for her character. And it does so gracefully. It's upsetting seeing so many people at her father's company try and take advantage of and manipulate her. And it's nice that she recognizes all of this and isn't just blindly trusting. I feel like they could have easily fallen into the trap of making such a sweet, innocent character be frustratingly naive, but she isn't. Amidst all of this business talk, we have Haru's innocent passion to just brew a really good cup of coffee, which blossoms into a desire to open up a nice, humble shop like the one her grandfather had, before it mutated into this gigantic corporation. I think rank 6 is my favorite, not only because this is where she tells us this wholesome and beautiful story about her grandfather's shop, but we also get first-hand experience with her bitch-ass fiance. Man, is he the worst. It's nice that she does at least have the resolve to say out loud that she isn't gonna marry him. It speaks to the strength of her will incredibly well, even if she's boxed in by the contract preventing her from calling off the wedding. The resolution of that is really funny though. It turns out he was just bluffing the whole time. I like that. It's pretty in character for such a scumbag. And even though we never speak to him again after rank 6, and thus don't have a comeuppance scene for him, I don't know, I actually prefer it that way. It's like, he matters so little to Haru that we don't even need to see him again after it's revealed he has no grounds to marry her. It's not really in her character to want to see some sort of comeuppance for people who have wronged her anyway. She just wants to thrive and live her own life on her own terms. In general, I think this social link is a better and more fleshed out version of Mitsuru's in a lot of ways. You get a much stronger sense of the burden a rich heiress who's about to be married off to an asshole against her will feels. I think the lead into your confession scene is cute too, where this guy at the company says, "Yeah, you two kids are for sure in love." And Haru is like, "Haha, no, that's crazy." Until it turns out, yeah, you are in love. Or at least really good friends. Throughout this link, Haru makes it clear multiple times how much you and the other Phantom Thieves changed her life for the better, and gave her a chance to be more than just a trophy wife. And damn it, I think that's just great to hear. I love making a difference in the lives of sweet beings like her. I think it's cute that basically any dialogue option you pick with her will get you a ton of music notes. It serves a gameplay purpose since it ensures you'll have time to finish ranking up her link, considering it's by far the last one available in the story, while also suiting her friendly and bubbly character incredibly well. I also like the bookends with Sojiro, and yeah, just in general, this one's really great. Haru's problems are significant, and I always get invested in helping her through them.
I was your therapist!
It's pretty hard to find a Persona fan who doesn't like Dr. Maruki. A character so interesting and instrumental to the themes of the game that it's genuinely shocking to think he was added in the updated re-release. He's the centerpiece of one of the richest and most powerful stories the Persona series has ever told. But that's all in the third semester. His social link, which is required to unlock said semester, has the rather thankless job of perfectly setting up his motivation and worldview without giving away just how far he's actually willing to go. He's working on a paper and trying to figure out how to free people from having to experience emotional pain. A pretty tall order. You get a sense of how passionately he feels about helping people, and it's heartbreaking to see him lament the fact that he can't help literally everyone. It gives you a sense of the scope of his plans, but you don't suspect that this is gonna go any farther than just a hypothetical pipe dream. The first time I played Royal, I kept thinking, oh, well that's nice, without ever thinking this would be a breeding ground for the final conflict of the game. Maruki just seems so nice and genuine, and not like someone with a warped and twisted view of facing reality. But all the setup is right here. It doesn't come out of left field because this social link does such a great job at establishing everything the third semester will build off of, without making it incredibly obvious what road his character is headed in. There is some nice light foreshadowing, like when he jokes, "You're welcome to change my heart if you like." Plus when he says he'll hopes he'll be able to use this research to help you one day. I also appreciate how he only manages to continue his research because Joker alludes to the existence of mementos. It's a slightly risky move, but considering how helpful Dr. Mario has been, and how believable the bond between the two of them is, yeah, if I was Joker, I would have thrown him that bone as well. I like how he just goes stone-faced and silent when his friend at the buffet teases him for still being single. Ooh, you know that's a sore subject when you see it on repeat playthroughs. The use of former girlfriend instead of ex-girlfriend to describe Rumi makes sense and kinda hits hard. And rank 9, where he opens up a little bit about her, has to be my favorite of the link. That portrait flash right there when he says she didn't deserve that feels like the first glimpse of Maruki the antagonist. Someone with noble motivations, but somewhat sinister consequences for his actions. It's also hard to not feel a little betrayed in rank 10 when he reveals that he suspected you of being Phantom Thieves the whole time and approached you to get help with his research. Not the worst thing to hear because he definitely grew to care about you and helped you, but it does clue you in a little bit more to how laser focused this man is on achieving his goal. Plus, this rank had the foggy glasses scene, and I like that part. It's cute and funny. Overall, this social link is outstanding. Starting out as a series of fascinating psychology lessons and blossoming into the groundwork for one of the most fleshed out antagonists in the entire Persona series. The only thing preventing it from ranking higher is the fact that it is just the setup. The best stuff with Maruki is yet to come. And while this social link is complete enough on its own, there's a lot of implications and loose ends that get paid off beautifully later. Fantastic stuff.
I'd like to buy your deadliest gun, please.
Damn it, every time I play this game, I always forget just how good of a social link EY has. I always just remember it as the one that takes forever to unlock because I need level 4 guts. Then you finally play it and get involved in this crazy Yakuza plotline, going out into the field and helping EY investigate things and get a leg up on the people giving him trouble. This is pretty much exactly what I wanted from Oya's link. Instead of staying in one place and hearing about all this potentially really cool shit, you get to be a part of the really cool shit. Eavesdropping on conversations, getting held at gunpoint, and overall just experiencing a taste of the Yakuza world through this guy who's trying to move on from it for the sake of his adopted son. Oh yeah, did I mention, it's not just a cool and exciting social link. It also has one of the best emotional cores out of all of them in Persona 5. Despite his stoicism, you feel the passion EY has for giving his son a better life than he had. And you can see where he's coming from when he doesn't want to reveal his Yakuza past or where Karu really came from. It all comes to a head in the explosive and emotionally charged rank 9. Definitely my favorite in the social link, and one of my favorite ranks in the game in general. First of all, it's a wholly unexpected development because the game really sets in place that Suda is the main antagonist whose heart you need to change. Side note, my only real problem with this link is that it's one of the biggest examples of the why doesn't Joker realize he needs to change someone's heart way sooner issue. Like if I were him, I would have locked Suda in as a target after rank 5. But oh well. They change his heart a little later, all seems to be well. And then that Masa guy we saw in like rank 2 suddenly returns and kidnaps EY's son, trying to take over this gun deal where Suda left off. There's always gonna be someone trying to pull you back into Yakuza shit just when you thought you were out. And when EY is finally forced to tell Karu the truth, He doesn't care. He says it's all in the past, which is a beautiful reflection of how the bond he has with his father transcends the circumstances with which they ended up together. Ooh, I love the found family trope. Then to top it all off, Suda comes back to put Masa in his place. Another crazy twist, solely because we don't really see the social link antagonists whose hearts get changed come back after that, let alone help the subject of the social link with their conflict. Suda acts as tough and no nonsense as ever, and there's something really cool and special about Iwai noting that it feels like his brother in arms is back. Ultimately, once the situation is resolved, you just get an incredibly warm feeling from seeing Iwai, Kaoru, and Joker together. Like the three of you have become a family after enduring all these hardships together. That's pretty insane. Like, obviously I feel that with Dojima and Nanako, or Sojiro and Futaba, but you don't live at Daddy Iwai's gun shop. You don't see him or Kaoru anywhere else in the story. It's a testament to how strong the writing of this social link is, that it single-handedly makes you feel bonded to these two characters. It helps that you get a bit of one-on-one time with Kaoru, and he's not just a blank slate. And it also helps that Iwai just feels realistic in the way he talks, and the way he slowly warms up to you over time. Still, it's a pretty tremendous feat that I have to commend this social link for. Raise those guts up as fast as you can to experience this one. It's so damn incredible.
Change the world. My final message.
There really is nothing like Yoshida's storyline in the rest of the series. Getting wrapped up in a story about political scandals and the future of the nation gives this one a scope unlike any other social link. But it's anchored by the kind-hearted, imperfect, deeply human man at its center. Yoshida proves time and time again to be the ideal of what a politician should strive for. Someone who is for the people and deeply cares about creating a world that'll allow them to achieve their life goals. He's a stellar example of perseverance in the face of overwhelming adversity and setbacks. And while the first half of this social link is a bit of a slow burn, as it takes its time to set up his convictions and backstory, the second half is just packed with phenomenal scene after phenomenal scene. You get to be there to keep Yoshida firm on his ideological path, despite all the temptations his fellow politicians offer him. And his relentless dedication to what he believes in is pretty awe-inspiring. I got to rank 6 and I was like, oh, this is my favorite part of the social link. Then rank 7 rolled around and I was like, oh, no, it's this. Nope, never mind, it's rank 8. Up, okay, definitely 9. His speech fully owning up to the No Good Torah moniker and expressing his support for the Phantom Thieves was absolutely peak. But then we got to rank 10, and damn, I forgot how blindsided I am by this last speech he gives. Not only my favorite in this social link, but one of my favorite parts of any social link, period. I usually hate when YouTube videos just play a scene from something with no commentary to get their point of how good it is across. But genuinely, I can't do this justice. Just listen to this.
I met a certain young man. Through a method that differs from mine, he was trying to reform the world. As you know, that is a very large mountain to cross. Unfortunately, I am unable to travel the same path as him. However, I will not say goodbye, because we will surely meet at the peak.
I think what makes Yoshida such a special confidant is the fact that you don't even need to change anyone's heart for him to believe in and support the Phantom Thieves wholeheartedly. A lot of the other social link characters follow a pretty similar format. You change someone's heart and help them in their daily life, so they become Phantom Thief supporters. But Yoshida is someone who doesn't need that. You could have changed the heart of that old guy who blamed him for embellishment, but it's way more meaningful for the game to express how much Yoshida doesn't need an extreme amount of assistance from anyone, not even the Phantom Thieves. All he needs is a partner who gives him the confidence to stand tall and handle anything that comes his way on his own terms. I adore this social link, and you're really missing out if you've never given it a try. Put down the anime waifus and Detective Twink for a second and carve out some time for the middle-aged man, damn it.
I shall give birth to art!
I love literally every single rank of Yusuke's social link. Like, all 10 of them are completely distinct in my mind, and don't just work as excellent individual scenes, but come together to form a staggeringly beautiful whole. Yusuke's eccentricities are put on full display in a lot of these ranks, as you might expect. But at the end of the day, this link paints a beautiful portrait of a budding young artist, desperate to recapture the soul of his passion after his former mentor tainted it. Much like how Saki Konishi remains relevant through a couple social links, even after the main story of Persona 4 moves on from her. This link really expresses the long shadow Madarame continues to cast over Yusuke's life. Yusuke finds himself unable to paint just for the sake of art, with his desire for praise overtaking his thoughts during the first few ranks of the link. After he gets a wake-up call from no one liking his painting, he tries to find artistic expression through some wacky hijinks. These are probably the ranks that most people think of when the social link comes to mind. It's unbearably funny watching him confuse a brother and sister duo for a couple, and convincing himself he sees romantic desire in their eyes. And then there's the scene where the two of you imitate Jesus so he can truly understand the anguish of the passion of the Christ. Okay, I'm just gonna come out and say it. This is my favorite rank of the link. I know, this link is more than these two goofy scenes, but I'm sorry, this is one of my favorite parts of all of Persona 5. I cannot go to this church without thinking of Yusuke's abstract attempt at a T-pose. And it's kinda nice and humbling to see him get a theology lesson. The second half of the link involves Yusuke's critic from the art show offering him a place at his foundation, which Yusuke rejects because he doesn't want to rely on his sob story as a starving artist who was used and betrayed by Madarame. I think this is a really strong moment for his character. It speaks to his resolve to create art on his own terms. And Yusuke's frustrated expression of how dominated the art world has become by the pursuit of money. I mean, yeah, go off, king. Money has a habit of stifling passion and preventing people from creating the art they want to just for the sake of making art. Yusuke gets incredibly real for a second here. And then he makes one of his many legitimately funny jokes at the end, where after telling that guy off, he still eats the sushi the guy got for him because it did nothing wrong. I just adore this dude. Like, I can't believe every time you tell him you want to hang out, he says, "You must have a wealth of free time if that is your decision." Like, dude, you're one of the best social links and one of the best characters in the entire game. You've got it all. What are you talking about? To conclude, I love the series of epiphanies he has in his final few ranks. It's nice for An to give him artistic inspiration, this time through her words instead of just her looks. It felt like an appropriate bookend for the interactions the two of them had. His reflection when the two of you return to Mementos is really nice, and the last conversation he has with the art director guy about his new and improved painting, and the future he has in store as an artist, is super compelling. I'm honestly really glad that even after we find out this guy isn't a jerk deep down and was just trying to get Yusuke's creative juices flowing, Yusuke still turns down his offer. I'm glad that he doesn't take the easy, convenient solution that landed in his lap, and instead decides to remain as a passion-fueled, independent artist. Yeah, maybe that's to uphold the status quo of him never having any money, but I think it's a beautiful expression of the willpower and strong desire to be a great artist on his own terms. One of the best social links in the whole series, and it's all centered on the goofy lobster boy. I can't believe it, but I'm so proud.
Hello, LGBTQ community.
Goro Akechi is a character of extremes. He acts unbearably polite for a majority of the game, only to reveal his insanely twisted, murderous tendencies. Half the fanbase adores him, the other half hates his guts. And, in perhaps the only development that made sense for this ranking, he is the subject of my second least favorite social link in all of Persona 5, and also my second favorite. Actually, f*** it, this is my favorite social link in the game. It's one of those situations where I think there's just one that's objectively better. But, putting aside all the personal bias that comes from my obsession with this character, I just think the new link they gave Akechi that's exclusive to Royal is the single most interesting depiction of a character's inner workings and mental state that the Persona social links have ever attempted. Furthermore, this is the most clear-cut and compelling relationship to ever form between the main character and one of their confidants in the series. Other social links rank a bit higher for me because they tell slightly better stories. But solely from a character standpoint, there is nothing in the series quite like this one. I'd honestly call it the single biggest improvement Royal brought to the table over the original Persona 5. Just to recap, making Akechi an automatic social link in the original was an awful decision that caused a lot of players to resent his character for being forced upon them. Immediately, this is rectified by putting the choice to spend time with Akechi and rank up your bond with him in your hands. It's pretty obvious why this is a vast improvement. And when comparing the two, I've seen a lot of people kind of just stop there when determining why this is a better social link than his original one. I mean, you could stop there if that's your thesis, but I better go into more detail to explain why this is one of my favorite social links of all time. Simply put, there are two things tying this link together: the competition you naturally experience as rivals, and the homoerotic tension in the air. I think this is the most romance-coded social link in the series, even more so than the ones where you actually get to date the girls. The romance is kind of an afterthought in those ones if you think about it. There's a couple cute ooh-woo moments leading up to the big confession scene, but mainly it's a story about them experiencing personal growth with your help. But with Akechi? I'm sorry, this could not be more intimate. It's always one-on-one, and you're not helping him overcome some sort of hardship in his life or anything. You are just going on dates with this man. The cafe scene where you give him your glasses and scrunch up his hair. The jazz club, a special place to him that he outright says he's never taken anyone else before. You two bathe together, which, you know, isn't all that uncommon in Japanese bathhouses. But this, of all times, is when he chooses to be emotionally vulnerable to you and tell you about his mother. When he's naked? He's stripped bare, both literally and figuratively, telling someone this intensely personal secret for the first time ever. The amount of first things he does with or confesses to Joker, which he's never done with anyone else before, is staggering. There's this level of intimacy between the two of you that simply feels unheard of for this character. It's like his heart is aching, desperately yearning for you to get to know the real him. The song No More What Ifs is commonly considered to be Akechi's version of Beneath the Mask, with the lyrics applying to him incredibly well. And where do you first hear it? In the jazz club, when he takes you there. It could not be clearer that he's stifling his true self and his true feelings. This brings us to the second major theme of this link: competition. When he's not taking you to intimate locations, he's dueling you in something. Pool, a gun game at the arcade, hell, even the bathhouse scene doubles as a contest for who can stand the heat longest. These also perfectly tie into his true feelings about you. He can't stand that you're better than him, that you've adjusted to your unfortunate circumstances in a more positive way than he ever could. And you continue to get the drop on him in so many other ways, even mentally. What I love about the rank 2 scene is that you immediately pick up on the fact that he's not using his dominant hand, something he constantly commends you for noticing. It's pretty good foreshadowing for the fact that you also immediately saw through his ruse because of delicious pancakes. Which, as an aside, I can't believe Akechi reveals he doesn't even like sweets that much during this social link. It's like he just made that pancake comment to fit in with kids his age. SMH, I thought he was the funny pancake man. What a fascinating tragedy that it just seems to be another element of his facade. This link really gives weight to that one climactic line where he says he was extremely particular about his life, grades, and public image, because we actually get to see examples of that now. It shows and then tells, rather than just telling. Anyway, the competitive nature and the intimacy between the two of you both come to a head during what I personally believe to be the single greatest rank up in all of Persona. Akechi's rank 8 is simply unbelievable. It gives me chills just thinking about it. Also, I just realized his rank 8 in vanilla is like the worst social link rank up in the entire series. Yeah, kinda ties into what I said about him being a character of extremes, huh? Anyway, back to peak. Throughout this entire royal social link, knowing what I knew about Akechi's true intentions, I kept wondering what the end goal of him spending time with us and revealing all this personal information about himself was. Did this really further any of his plans to kill Joker and take down the Phantom Thieves? No. It was all because of his personal fixation on Joker. He couldn't resist both proving himself better than Joker and proving himself to Joker. And so, he arranges a one-on-one duel in Mementos between the two of you. It's completely unexpected, and yet it was foreshadowed significantly over the course of the previous ranks. It's climactic, exciting, and ominous all at once. Really feeling like a relative calm before the storm if you know what's coming between the two of them. And after it ends and you commend each other for your skills and get that rank up, Akechi drops the bombshell.
I'm going to be entirely honest with you. I hate you.
This took me by complete surprise when I first played Royal, even though I fully knew of Akechi's true intentions. Just the sheer gall and forwardness to say this now, while we're allied together, before the jig is officially up with him, and after we just got done beating the shit out of each other. This in no way furthers his endgame. In fact, if Joker didn't already know he was gonna betray the Phantom Thieves, he'd certainly figure it out now. Akechi just couldn't help himself. His obsession with Joker, his desire to defeat him in all parts of life, all of that got the better of him, and he just needed this personal duel to take place before he killed Joker in service of a greater plan. But the thing that really cements this as one of the most incredible scenes in the entire game to me is Joker's reaction to the "I hate you" line. He doesn't show surprise of any kind. No exclamation point, no question mark, nothing. He just shifts to a more relaxed stance, as if this is what he expected to hear from Akechi all along. No one else can read Pancake Boy like a fucking book quite like Joker can. And based on the dialogue responses you can give, it seems like this hybrid of resentment and adoration is entirely mutual. It's one of the strongest instances of Joker feeling like his own character, instead of a self-insert. And one of the many reasons I find his relationship with Akechi to be one of the most interesting ones in all of Persona. Ranks 9 and 10 play out the same way as they did in the automatic social link, which is good because, as I said, those were the only scenes in the link that were worth a damn. You can kind of tell this scene was written before the rest of the Royal link, and yet there are so many pieces of this final showdown that feel enhanced with the context from the rest of the link. Not just Akechi's line about his life and public image, but when Morgana says, "You don't really hate Joker, do you?" Damn, it hits a lot harder after you actually hear Akechi insist that he does hate you. Like, I never really thought about that Morgana line during my vanilla playthroughs, but ever since the first time I played Royal, it has stuck with me for years. Between this tremendous social link and the outstanding use of him in the third semester, it's hard to see base game Akechi as nothing more than an unfinished beta version of the character. Royal did such a tremendous job of fully realizing him and exploring what it means to have such a prominent and obsessive love-hate relationship with someone. He's a messy, occasionally inconsistent, yet fucking unforgettable character. And I have practically no problems with his new social link. Every June 9th, I eat some delicious pancakes in his honor. Thank you for your service, funny pancake man. Going into this, I thought it would be a tough competition between Yusuke and Akechi 2 for that top Persona 5 spot. But I forgot the most crucial rule in the entire series. If your social link is about a daddy, it's gonna be unreasonably phenomenal. Case in point, the best social link in Persona 5 by far, Sojiro Sakura. I always loved this one, but it hardly ever occurred to me how perfect it was until I watched it all back to back. The problem is, on a typical playthrough, you don't really get to experience this one back to back, since the first 4 ranks are doable before you even meet Futaba. Then you can't rank up his social link until her arc is done, since the rest of it involves her. For some people, that makes the link feel disjointed, a little bit like Sumire's, where there are 2 distinct halves that don't naturally flow together. I'm gonna make the argument that it absolutely flows together, especially if you start Sojiro's link a little bit later, like around the Kaneshiro arc. Those first 4 ranks don't feel wasted. They set the groundwork for everything that'll happen in the second half, while also serving as intriguing mysteries for you to ponder. I love foreshadowing the existence of Futaba here. I love how we meet her uncle and don't really know what's wrong with him yet, or what business he has with Sojiro. And I love how rank 4 foreshadows the existence of Wakaba. Even if you don't know who she is yet, you really get a sense that this scientific genius Sojiro speaks of meant a lot to him. These first 4 ranks also serve the important purpose of building your individual rapport with Sojiro, before the story evolves to be fully about Futaba. And the fact that you bond because he's teaching you about coffee making is really nice and endearing. From rank 5 onward, we can finally incorporate Futaba into the link, and reveal that this guy constantly asking for money is her abusive uncle. Just when you think she's been through enough, they dump her uncle's horrible treatment of her on you. And yet, Sojiro is still racked with insecurity over whether he, a family friend, is even right to take care of Futaba. Because blood is thicker than water, right? Man, what a shitty mentality. There is a lot of value in tight familial bonds, but sometimes people connected to you by blood are just irredeemable, and you shouldn't need to have them in your life. To me, the bonds you forge with people who aren't related to you are significantly stronger because nurturing and maintaining them was 100% your choice, which is a far more beautiful prospect than just being arbitrarily connected by blood. I mean, it's the reason we all find romantic relationships so compelling, right? 2 people finding each other and sharing a life together. But strong friendships, to me, are equally as beautiful. And to wrap things around back to Sojiro, so is adoptive parenthood. In fact, I think it's more beautiful to take someone in who isn't your own flesh and blood, because you have less of an obligation to. It all stems from how much Sojiro cared for Wakaba, and wanted her daughter to grow up in a loving, stable home. Even if he doesn't believe it, he's the best dad that she could have ever asked for. Rank 7 is tremendous, where you console Sojiro individually, then Futaba, then you get to see them come together in this emotional heart-to-heart, where they both affirm their desire to stay together as father and daughter. They play the damn Sunset Bridge song and everything. It's so beautiful. And this isn't even the end of the damn link! We of course have to change the heart of Futaba's uncle. And this one is unique because Futaba asks you not to tell the others about it. So it's just a solo boss fight in Mementos. And that's so special to me. It just feels much more intimate and personal to the storyline's conflict, rather than just feeling like business as usual for the Phantom Thieves, like it does for the other Social Link Mementos requests. We get a nice twist in rank 9 where we didn't change the uncle's heart in time, and he's still called social services. But by naturally expressing our love for Sojiro and what a great guardian he is, basically a perfect reflection of the thesis of this whole storyline, social services realizes there's no problem here and leaves. We then get Sojiro tearing up and asking Futaba if she could call him dad again, since she just did for the first time. And damn it, I'm not made of stone, that got to me. But you know what? Even though ranks 7 and 9 would have been the highlight of any other social link, it's rank 10 that was my absolute favorite. Visiting Wakaba's grave at the church, having Sojiro say this is the first time the 4 of us have ever been together, and hearing him muse about the lady Futaba will be one day. Yeah, the waterworks would not stop. This is an unbearably beautiful conclusion to an immensely powerful social link. Well-paced, intriguing, powerful as hell, and containing some of the best writing to ever come out of the series, Sojiro is my pick for the best social link in Persona 5. Hoo boy indeed. Well, that's all the social links of Persona 5 ranked. See you next time for the final game in the modern trilogy, Persona 3. No, I'm not gonna forget the FEMC links, don't worry. Good night, Shujin Academy.